What's up, everybody? This is Flash001 USA, and it's February 23rd, 2014. It's around 2:30 p.m. here, and it's actually a pretty nice day. What I wanted to do was give you an update on the gasifier, and I'm actually on the final stretch of finishing this thing up. What you're looking at right here is the actual mounting platform that everything's going to go on, and I'm going to let you get a look at it. I'm going to walk around it, just kind of let you get a glance at it, and then we'll get a closer look at it here in a minute. Now, originally, guys, I was going to build this out of square tubing, out of 1-inch square tubing, and man, they just wanted too much money for the steel. I couldn't get over how much they wanted for it. So what I did is I found an alternate, and what you're looking at right here is actually 1/2-inch slot 12-gauge channel steel that the electricians use. They hang this stuff from the ceilings or put it on walls, and this allows them to put their conduit to it or run their electrical stuff on this. And it was much cheaper, much cheaper. As a matter of fact, I'm going to let you see what I've got here. This stuff right here. It's good and sturdy. There was only one problem with this when I first built it up. Because it's not boxed all the way around, it wanted to flex a little bit. In other words, I could grab it like over here, lift it up, and have play in it. And I got all that out and actually got this thing extremely solid. And it's very rigid, so I don't have to worry about anything with it. What I did is I treated it like a screen door. I took me some threaded rod and I welded an X on it. Basically one piece from this side going to the opposite side, and did it on both sides. Use these adjusters on this, and this allowed me to adjust it and get it good and sturdy. And this thing will not flex one bit. So I just used the old screen door trick, what they do with screen doors. Now, there was another plus of using this, and that is I had all these holes drilled in it. And this kind of made it like a big Lego set in some ways, or a Tinker Toy set. So I was able to just move around on this thing and mount stuff up. And what I did is I got some quality lawnmower wheels. I think these are 8 inches, but they got bearings in them. I think I used a 3/8 rod or 1/2-inch rod, a threaded rod ran through here, and I just bolted this guy on. So that's good and sturdy. That's not going to fall apart on me. I didn't put wheels on the other side. Instead, what I did was I made some adjusters, which I still got to put some feet on this thing. But what this will allow me to do is raise and lower this thing, so if I pull it off the trailer, I can turn back around and level it off no matter where it's at. And I'll probably make me some sort of little dolly system that has the wheels on it. I can lock under here and push down on it and lift it up off the ground and pull it around if I need to. Just depends how heavy everything is once it's put together. Now, the way I'm going to do this is I made these hooks. I'm going to let you see these guys right here. I'm going to zoom in. This is how the gasifier will be held to it. See, I've got everything on the bottom of this thing mounted up. The gasifier will go on this end right here. And I'll have 4 of these hooks that go all the way around it, and they'll bolt into place, and those hooks will naturally just mount right onto this thing with no problems. And then they'll be able to hook on the top of the lip of the can and pull down to keep everything in place. And then what I did over here for the expansion tank was I added extra steel here so that I would have plenty of holes to mount everything up. And on the expansion tank, I've actually got threaded rod welded to the bottom of it, and this will allow me to bolt everything into place. Now, where the tri-filter is concerned, I'm going to be doing this a little bit different. If you remember the past videos, I had them actually set up in a triangle configuration. Well, with this, I'm going to be setting them up in a straight line. It'll still be the same filter system, and I'm going to use actually a heavier pipe. This is actually 6-inch diameter versus 4 inches that I had on the last one. And what this is going to allow me to do is I'm going to make a shorter filter setup on it. I don't want them to be any higher than right about here. So whatever the height of this barrel is going to be the height of these guys right here when I'm finished with everything. And I'm going to be making me a support frame on the side of this. It'll weld and come out. And it'll basically be a setup that holds these filters and keeps them good and secure. And I've already got the steel for this too. It's the same thing metal as this right here, except I got the lighter gauge stuff because for supporting those filters right there, there's not a lot of weight there, and all I'll do is cut this up once I get all my measurements and weld everything into place. And I'll have a top piece, we'll use this as a make-believe. The way these things are going to be supported, I mean, it's really good, to have time to think about doing stuff. But the way this is going to work, there'll be a piece of top of metal on the top of it like this, And just like the gasifier right here, there'll be threaded rod that goes down to pull the tri-filter all into place once it's mounted. It'll be set up where it's good and secure, but it can be taken apart and serviced with ease. But there it is, and I will see you guys in the next segment. Alright guys, we're back and it's a brand new day. It's March 14th, 2014. It's around noontime here. And in a moment we're going to take a look at the gasifier now that it's fully assembled. But first I want to apologize to any of the YouTube users out there that's seen the original video. What I didn't realize is when I was videotaping it, the sun was setting behind me and it was reflecting off the house, and it pretty much washed the video out in a lot of the places. The more I got to looking at it, the more annoyed I got with it. So that's my explanation of why I'm redoing this. So once again, guys, I apologize. Okay, for those of you all that have not seen the video, what we're going to do right now, we're going to take a quick tour around the gasifier, and I'm going to let you get a quick once over, and we'll go back around and take a closer look at everything, and I'll try to give some explanations. The reason I'm doing this, there's probably some of you all out there that have your system already built up, but maybe you don't have it mounted on a platform. And I'll tell you right now, the last thing you want to do is mount it up on something shaky, because if you go to move it and you warp something, then all your work that you've done goes down the tubes until you fix it. So on that note, we'll take a walk around this thing and look at it a little bit closer. I'm doing this because hopefully you guys will be able to see exactly how I've got it together, and this will help you even if you do a spin-off from this concept right here. I'm sure some of this you've already seen in past videos that I'm showing you here, but I'm just letting you see how it relates to the new platform here. And by the way, the platform actually come off really sweet. It come off to be 57 inches in length, and that's from the back of the tire here too, right here, to the front of the steel frame. So it's like 3 inches short of being a total of 5 feet. And the width of it is 24.5 inches, and that's from the opposite side of those filters to the metal over here also. So I was sort of pleased with that, because I got tired of looking at this thing sitting on the side of my house, propped up on bricks. It looked like a pile of junk, and it was an eyesore to me. I was seeing this in my mind's eye, how I wanted it to go together, and I just didn't think I was going to get it on a tight footprint like this, so that was a pleasant surprise for me. Okay, let's start right here. As I had mentioned before, I don't have wheels in the front of this thing. I am going to make a dolly, and I've actually got the wheels for it. That'll prop up under here so I can just roll it around with ease. But what I have on this side right here is these adjusters, and I can raise it up and level it off when it's not on the trailer. And we're looking at the mason jar right here. That's the only capture jar on the system as far as the glass jar goes. And he just freestands on there. Basically, it's just hanging in midair, but it's not going to come off, and I'll show you how I've got that on here in a second. And before I forget, I need to mention something here. All of the pipes past this stuff here, I'll show you where it starts at. All the stuff from where you see in the camera on down onto the rest of the filter system is all PVC, because by the time the gas gets out of the second set of cooling pipes, it's pretty much at ambient temperature, and I'm not going to be concerned about anything melting. Okay, let's look at how I got this guy here. He's really tight, and he's nice and tight up here. He's not going to fall off, and I'm going to show you how I accomplish this. First of all, it's going to be supported here naturally where it's screwed in. But I found these collars. It was pretty cool. I found them by accident. I was in a plumbing section, and they had these collars that have a threaded inlet on the back of them. And I'm assuming, well, I'm not assuming, that's what they're using it for. They actually tie in a long threaded piece of rod on it. They can tie it into the ceiling, I guess, and hang them down. I think even electricians have something similar that they use. And it came off most excellent for this right here. So that was sort of a heaven sent. I've actually got 3 of them here. I've got 2 here, 1 here and here. This supports it. And the way I've done this is I went to the back of my expansion tank and I welded in, but I also made it where it threads in and out. And then I've got a locking bolt right here too on both of these. And I've got 2 of them down here, so that gave it extreme tensile strength. I'm not concerned about anything shaking off or coming loose. I've got a third one over here because on the back part of the tri-filter system, on the fourth little filter, my paper filter, I've got this guy supported with the 2 rods right here. I just fabricated a piece of steel and used a collar on that. Okay, now I want to explain what's glued and what's not glued and why I've done it this way. These big pipes have to be able to come off here. The same with this. This is all slip and fit. It is here too. So what I've got is on this T-connector right here. I've got 2 of them here. One at the top right here. He is not glued here. He's slipped in. But it's not going to come off and it's not going to leak air. This way I can just twist this thing and pull it right up and condense the gasifier down if I got to tote it somewhere. Okay, everything is glued from here on down, minus the ignition port right here. You can see I got me a chain on that. That makes it idiot proof so I don't set the cap down when I'm igniting it and go into a panic looking for it. And it's not glued here, but it is glued from here to here, and it's not glued here. And the reason being, when I go to clean my filters, I've got to be able to pull him out, take him and pivot him up like this so that I can raise him up and get through these filters and the expansion tank. Also guys, it is glued here, but it's not glued here. That way I can get the pivot in action there too. And this is glued permanent to the top of this cap. And this piece here that's like a telephone right here, this is glued to here and here, but it's not glued to the cap, so all I have to do is pull him up. Now this is the second part of the filters, and on the first part of the filters down here on the side, I think I did this on the last video, I've got the same setup except it's sideways. Yeah, let me see if I can get it here where you can see it. Okay. Yeah, right there. Okay. Well, one thing about doing this video again, like I said, I apologize for dragging people through the mud on this, but it kind of gives me a chance to go back and kind of refine what I wanted to do originally when I've done it. Okay, so now you see how this thing works as far as being able to pull it apart and do work on it. And when you go to build your system up, you got to think ahead of the game with it because you want to be able to service it. You don't want to be working on a foreign car. And for those of you that catch that pun, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, now the way I supported these filters on here, which you've seen in the video prior to this right here, I actually made me a platform down here, and I just mimicked that platform. I built the same thing that's on the bottom on the top right here because I knew my pipes would stick up through the center, and I fabricated me some wing nuts. I went ahead and just made this out of 1/2-inch square tubing and basically just welded my little pieces on here so that I can do this number right here and screw them down. I just like the way it looks and I like the way it feels. It's something to grab a hold of. So there's 4 of them on here as far as what holds the actual filters down in place. And it's held in the same way as these guys here are with the threaded rod. The only thing that I had to do on here was I tied into the side of the expansion tank, and I've got a hinge on this too. There's a hinge and a piece of steel that comes over. This is a stabilizer bar. He goes down, he clamps on here, and basically if I pull him off, you can see what I can do. So it's not coming off, it's not going to fall apart or anything. When I tighten that guy back up, it's nice and sturdy. So that's how I've done that right there. And one thing I do want to mention, these aren't the same wheels that I had on the platform in the beginning of the video. Reason being, I felt they weren't heavy duty enough, and I got to looking at them closer and realized, hey, that the rubber going around the wheels was hollow. And it's not that the gasifier is that heavy, but there is some weight here. So what I did is I moved up to a heavy duty wheel. These are the same diameter, they're 8 inches, but these are solid rubber pieces going around the wheels, and they're rated at 1,100 pounds, so I'm not concerned about anything falling apart. Also, I want to move back to the filters one more time here. I want to cover something that I didn't cover in the last time I done this, and I should have, so this gives me another reason yet to redo this video. On these tri-filters here, these bottom caps, they're not glued on. I do have waterproof RTV cement that keeps them sealed, so they got an airtight seal on them. And I'm going to mention something else here too. The tops of these caps, the way I sealed these is I went around here, I got some weather stripping, not the 1/4 inch thick, it's real thin stuff, and I went around the top of the cap inside there. So when it closes down, it has the same effect as that little piece of rubber does on a mason jar lid when you close it down, when it matches up to the lip of the glass. Now also, from here where my finger started, or basically from here to here, there is no paint on this stuff. If you paint this stuff, no matter how hard this paint dries, these things will want a grip to it. So be forewarned. The way I've got this thing set up now, it's good and airtight. It doesn't leak at all. You can almost use it for an air tank. Now, something I need to mention also is how I drain the water out of these things. And hopefully, guys, I can get under here with the camera, so bear with me. But basically what I did is, no, I'm not going to be able to. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Regardless, I got a plug that I put on the bottom of these things here. I can unscrew it, take this guy out right here, and that's oil on it. I've actually got grease on all these fittings to keep everything where it stays together, but it screws in. So there's one on each tank, and that's how I seal them. I'm going to probably go back and do another, I don't know if I'll do a video, but I'll definitely do a PDF file on this and show you how I did the new build of this and put it up on the website. So there you go. That covers basically the gasifier right here. And we'll go back around one more time and look at everything so you can see how it's put together. Before we do a final walk around on the system, there was something that I forgot to mention in this video. And I felt that it was important enough that I come back and tag it on here. And that is how I start up the gasifier. Alright, right now I've got my fuel line hooked up to my filters. And I want to give you guys a second option that you could use. And that is, a lot of people when they build their system up, they add 2 on and off valves to their system. They put one on their filter side and one on their flare side. And what this will allow you to do is come off of here and go into a T-connector from both your filtered and your non-filtered side and have one pipe to deal with on the output. And the way they do it is they reach over during startup and they shut off the valve on their filters and they make sure that their valve on the flare port is wide open. They start up, and once they know everything's up to snuff, they shut that valve off, they turn this one on, they crank their engines, they're off to the races. I did mine different. And basically I'm just using end caps to open and close my stuff up with. So I've got the same thing recreated on the end of my fuel line. And for me it works, and I'm happy with it, but I'm giving you guys that other option. The thing I like about my setup right here is once I'm ignited and I know that my flare looks good and I cap off, I can prime my whole system up. So basically I take the fan off of here, the vacuum over here, and I move them over here to this guy right here. And it allows me to see 2 things. First of all, I can see if I've got anything that's come through that line that I feel shouldn't be there. If I see fog or something coming through that line, I'm going to be checking it out very closely. It could be water vapor, or if I do a bad ignition and don't get it started correctly the first time, it could even be some tiny amounts of tar gas. So that's an indicator right there. I get to see what's coming out of the end of this line, the very end of it, feeding the engine. The second thing is, I get to look at the flare. I can see how healthy the flare is. Is the gas robust enough? If it's not robust enough, the flare won't sustain. Therefore, I know the engine's not going to run. So I do get a couple pluses out of it. Now, one minus to this is, if I forget to put the cap on this guy right here, I can draw air back to the system. 2 things will happen during ignition. It's kind of like electricity. The air will take its least resistance path. What'll happen is I'll put a vacuum over here. It'll suck through the filters, bat through them, right back to here, and guess where it comes out? Right here. That means that I won't ignite. And if I got lucky enough and it did ignite up, guess what would probably happen? You guessed it. Wood gas mixed with oxygen, so it wouldn't be a pleasant thing to have. But anyhow, I wanted to cover that with you and just give you that other option. Alright, we'll do one more walk around on this just in case anything was missed. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to back off so I can get the whole gasifier into the video here. And I'll try to give you a 3D view of it here. We'll walk all the way around it. I can already tell now the video's not washed out. I apologize for that, guys. But the more I watched it, the more I cringed when I seen how washed out it was. And I just felt I had to redo this. It doesn't do any good showing you something if it's not clear. Okay. This will probably get it right here by the time I get back around over here with it. I will show you one more thing. I'll cover it in a little bit more detail. I took advantage of the threaded rods that I had here, and the 4th filter needed a good support on it also. So what I did is I cut an 1 inch wide piece of steel, and I had some 3/8 inch hollow tubing, and I cut some little pieces right here, and I just tack welded them onto this, and this allowed me to have a way to drop this guy down here and drop him down and bolt him into place. And I just had to drill a hole here and put a tiny piece of threaded rod there, and that was a done deal. So that actually worked really good. Okay, On to the trailer here very quickly. Originally, when I got this trailer, I was going to mount the gasifier on it permanently. I'm glad I didn't now, because now I get to have my cake and eat it too. The way it's set up is I can roll the gasifier onto the trailer here, and where the gasifier is facing you this way so that you can get up on it and actually work with it. I can actually get the whole gasifier up here and have a foot left over on the ass end of it. It'll hold two 55-gallon barrel drums that I can store fuel in. It'll hold the generator and all the accessories needed to go with it, so that's not bad. So it did come off to be a good job. And now to cover something that I've been dying to cover in this video, and that is a new project. I've launched a new website called miniwoodgas.com along with a blog to go with it. And I want to base this around small-scale wood gasifiers, stuff in the range of 1 kilowatt up to 10 kilowatts of power generation. To give you a brief history of what made me decide to do this, about a year and a half ago when I got into this and I started studying it, I wound up pretty much saving all of the documents that I found online onto the computer. And by the time I had built up the invert, man, I wound up with a lot of files on my computer. This is the direction that I'm wanting to take this website. I'm wanting to keep it as an open source website where people can get up there and consolidate some videos, along with using the blog to share ideas with on small scale gasifiers. Now, I'm not out to sell plans with this website, make money selling gasifier plans, nor am I out here to pat myself on the back and tell everybody how great of a job I did with this. This is not about me, although I'm the one that's launching this. I don't have a dog in the fight with this as far as I'm concerned. To be honest with you, I'm really a prepper, and in the back of my mind, I have a feeling that things may be getting ready to go south soon enough, so I want to put this information out there for everybody. Besides that, I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of people that may be interested in this for small-scale power generation, and that's another reason for making it available. I even have some embedded YouTube videos up on the website. So any of you out there that would like to have your videos on the website, just contact me and send me the links that you want, and I'll make you a dedicated page. And if you have a little write-up you want to go with it, I'll include that on the page also. At this time, I've got 6 or 8 of my videos up there of my how-to videos, and I've got another page that's got 4 videos from All Power Labs. I actually contacted those guys and got permission from them to put some videos up on the website, and they were more than glad to help me on that. Now, speaking of All Power Labs, I had contacted them about, I don't know, around 6 or 8 months ago. It's been a while back. And I had some questions about the invert charts with them. And I'm going to tell you how nice these guys were. They actually contacted me back and said, hey, what are you trying to build? If you'll tell us the engine size, we'll go ahead and calculate whatever you need to build this thing up with, and all you have to do is use our calculations, and that should get you close enough to get up and running. Man, I was floored. I couldn't believe just how nice they were about that. They didn't know me from Adam's house cat, and they were willing to help me like that. And that's kind of why I'm also wanting to return the favor back to others doing this. Now, I'll tell you what, I mean, you know, the information's out there, but you got to look all over the place for it. And that's why I'm trying to consolidate this, guys. I'm trying to make this where we have a place to go for small gasification builds. That's what this is all about. I'm going to bring up one more thing, and then I'm going to hang the telephone up, and that's about temperatures and tar cracking temperatures. The minimum tar cracking temperature is, I think it's around 1650 degrees Fahrenheit. Most people shoot for a temperature range of 1900 to 2200 degrees Fahrenheit at the restriction zone, or at their throat zone right there. I'm also going to mention this. Just because you hit those temperatures, you can be as hot as the sun and still have tar in the gas, and here's why. If the air velocity is moving too fast through the ember bed, then the gas does not have time to have the tar cracked in it. This is why those invert charts are sort of important, or at least getting close enough so you can tinker and get it worked in. Because if you're using nozzles that are too big or too small or whatnot, then the airflow is incorrect. If your restriction zone is too big or too small, the airflow is incorrect and you wind up with a bad gas. So that's the importance of those things. And I'm also wanting to mention this too. If you're a YouTube user and you understand those invert charts and you can make this, explain it on layman's terms, if you want to do a write-up for me or even make another video, I don't care how we do this. I'm asking that everybody get out there and share their information with each other. So once again, if you have any information, PDF files, links, anything that's of value, if you'll do me a favor, send it to me. I'll get it up on the website and we can share this with others. All right, guys, that's all I had to say here. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and hang the telephone up, and we'll see what happens with the website. Take care now.